Kanse buju hanin atlanite wache ugama benesi sindisnigasan kishiwaska ganoshinina. Hello, my name is Chief Thunderbird. My English name is Ted Bland, and I am from the beautiful community of York Factory First Nation. I always say it's the most beautiful community in all of northern Manitoba. If any of you want to contest that? I see our Grand Chief here has put up her hand. I will be your MC for today. Before we begin our evening, I'd like to acknowledge a few people. Before we get going, everything that was already started earlier on today. So normally we would have an opening prayer. There's a little bit of weird feedback going on. Can you hear it? So normally we would start off with an opening prayer, but that was done this morning. So we had a pipe ceremony that was done by Sheldon Cote. Sheldon also opened up with a drum song. We also had our elders, Matilda Roulette-Ben and Walter Halcrow, do the opening prayer. So thank you, Mr. Cote, Elder Roulette-Ben, and Elder Halcrow for the beautiful blessings that you bestowed on us. Your songs bring peace, your prayers bring strength, and it's also a reminder to show gratitude for everything that we have in our lives today. I'd also like to acknowledge our firekeeper, Cree Crowchild. Thank you for keeping the sacred fire going. I think it's got to go for one more day, so imagine he's going to be out there for another 24 hours. I'm sure he has somebody else with him, though. I don't think he's going to be by himself. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on First Nations land. Turtle Island has been inhabited by First Nations from time immemorial. For thousands of years, First Nations people, the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Dakota, the Dene, the Anishinaabe nations, walked and lived on this land and knew it to be the center of their lives and their spirituality. The Anishinaabe call this land Manitowabi, the place where the Creator resides. We acknowledge that this became the homeland of the Métis. We acknowledge and welcome the many people from countries all over the world who have joined us. Turtle Island First Nation in calling this our land, our home. And also it is in Treaty 1 territory. That is done by our late Theodore Fontaine, Ted Fontaine, so I wanted to acknowledge his welcome. We welcome our ancestors today. We honor them with our words and our actions. We create a conscious space for them. We ask for their wisdom and guidance as we remember our family and friends who attended the Assiniboia Residential School. It is my honor to welcome you to the Assiniboia Residential School Legacy Group Reunion Gala Dinner. We have a beautiful evening planned out for you. Dinner, music, performers, and guests. So to all our Grand Chiefs, our Premier, our special guests, our elders, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you. I'm going to read a little piece on the Assiniboia Residential School. It opened on Academy Road in Winnipeg's River Heights neighborhood on September 2nd, 1958, under the auspices of the Oblates Mary Immaculate. Prior to its opening, Indigenous students were often sent out of province because of the lack of facilities for secondary students in Manitoba. It was one of the few urban residential schools in Canada and the first residential school in Manitoba. The Oblates operated the school until 1969, when the federal government took over until its closing June 30th, 1973. So our agenda today, we have our acting Grand Chief Kennedy will be bringing greetings on behalf of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. We have our Premier Wab Canoe. He's going to bring greetings on behalf of the province. We will have our blessings, excuse me, by Mabel Horton, so she will do our blessings before we have our supper. We will have some remarks brought from our board member, Betty Ross. I'm having a hard time reading my own writing here. A little odd. Sorry about that. And then we'll have Barb Niepenak and Summer Bear, Dion Waukee, to do a performance. He's going to be doing drumming, dancing, and singing. From there, at 6 o'clock we're going to have our dinner, of course. And then we're going to have some remarks by Ada. She's going to do a wrap-up. And then we'll be doing just closing remarks from there and a closing prayer. So that is our agenda for today. I need to find out, does anybody have any allergies today? Can you please hold up your hand? We have cards that are going to be bought to you. So staff of the organization, can you please take note who's holding up their hand, please? And we'll get you a card to recognize your allergies. All right, it's been a beautiful day. It's been a beautiful week, actually. I look forward to spending the evening with you. And it is now time to get started. So let us begin. I would like to call upon the acting Grand Chief, Chief Kennedy. Chief Kennedy is from War Lake, and she's acting on behalf of the late beloved Kathy Merrick. Let's welcome our Grand Chief.
Good evening, Tansy, and hello. My name is Chief Betsy Kennedy of War Lake First Nation, and representing the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. On behalf of the 63 First Nation members of the AMC, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Assiniboia Residential School Legacy Group for the invitation to attend this evening's dinner. I want to acknowledge them in a way that they are providing information and providing our much needed on what happened in residential school, and for that I really thank you. I also want to acknowledge and remember late Grand Chief Kathy Merrick, as she was very much involved in the residential school, as she attended a residential school herself. And she is I want to take this moment to acknowledge the following dignitaries in attendance this evening: Premier Wapkanu and Mayor Gillingham. Thank you for being here this evening to show your respect to the survivors and families of the Assiniboia Residential School. I am a residential school survivor, and my mother was a residential school, went to residential school also. In fact, my entire family had gone to residential school, all my brothers and my sisters. You know, nobody's ever told or said anything about that. How many families, siblings together went to residential school, and how much separated we were also. I want you to think about a child being taken as from their family, child of 5 years old, and that they were told by their mom, and her trying to protect her child in every way, even though she was going to be taken, telling them Make sure you don't cry. Make sure you listen. And in that way, she was trying to protect so you don't get anything to happen to you. And that child didn't go home for 4 years. No them. And when they when she finally came home, she didn't remember her parents, but she remembered her grandmother. My father waited for me when I got off the plane after 4 years of not having to see them. He waited for all the children to be taken by going home to their parents, and I was the only one left. And I see my dad up the hill, and he comes down, and he looks at me, and he says, "Betsy," and by then I was already speaking well English, and I just shook my head, yes. Now he just grabs my hand, and off we go home. We went home by train, so that's the only thing that I remember also is going home by train. And that, once I got home, not remembering who he was, I just got off the train and went running to the house where we used to live, and it wasn't there. And when the family moved, my grandmother just seemed to appear out of nowhere, and I'm yelling at her, and she's yelling back, and we ran to each other, and she basically said, "Oh, thank you for bringing her home." Those are some of the survivors, but we as survivors have to remember. One of the things is that I never told anyone about what happened. My brother also went to a different school. I was at I don't know, they really separated us, so I went to a different school, and he went to a different school. And it was only when the school that I went to was closed that I was able to go home. I still don't know why I was chosen when all the other students had gone home every year. I was the only one out of the whole school that stayed. I can also think of my father being there every year, waiting for, I guess, me to come home or me to return. I never thought about it till I got older, how the pain that he must have went through waiting for his child. And I know it really affected my mother, that she turned to alcohol. Because thinking about it is that they took away every child as soon as they turned 5, that she didn't have one to hold and be with. So I had many brothers and sisters, and every time they turned 5, they were gone. So it hit me hardest when they found children in BC. I cried. I really cried that day, because I can imagine the parents waiting every year for them to come home, and they never did. No one will ever understand the pain and suffering, how it affected parents, having their children taken, thousands never be seen again, thousands coming home never to be the same. Their identity as First Nations person was changed forever. In order to cope with the sadness, loneliness, and tragedy, alcohol became a source of comfort, only to then become an addiction and a stereotype of First Nations today. These intergenerational effects are still felt today. I see them as a leader in many of our as leaders in many of our communities. Drug addiction and suicide are epidemics in our nations. Canada woke up when First Nations found unmarked graves in Kamloops, BC. But survivors knew these tragedies took place, but no one believed us. But thankfully we survived to be able to shed light on this genocide that took place. And the world had no choice but to stop and listen. To the survivors and family members, this evening is dedicated to you. We are here tonight to honor your journey as survivors. I just want to say that I was talking to who was ever going to do my notes, that I want to say all these things because that's what I've always felt that I wanted to say, and this is my opportunity to say them, and I wouldn't forget because as you have a lot of things on your mind, you tend to forget these little things. When I see so many faces from so many many different First Nations in this room, I know your experience at residential school did not hold you back. They did not allow you that painful time in your life to define the possibility of what your life could be like and how you want it to be, how you wanted life to be for the generations that follow you. It is important that we recognize the true history of this country. It is a dark chapter, as it's been said before, for us, First Nations people in Manitoba. I know that the residential school system was designed to take the Indian out of the child and to sever us from our culture, our families, and our identities. The proof of your strength as First Nations people is here, right here in this room. Every word you speak, your languages, your songs you sing, and the tradition you practice as an act of resistance against the system that could not silence you. Tonight we will also remember and honor the spirits of those who didn't return home. The ones you remember through the stories you share, by raising your voices collectively to be heard and acknowledged of your time in those institutions. I want to thank the young people also for being here, wanting to know what happened in residential school and why some of our elders are going through so much, your parents or your grandparents. I want to acknowledge also the students, the classrooms that these students have attended. I had received a call to attend one in school to talk to them about residential school, how it began and why it began. And I see my niece, I really apologize to her for not being there that day. But I will talk to the class one of these next few days. It is through the courage of survivors and the love of your nations that the Assiniboia Residential School Legacy Group was created to continue to bring the awareness of what happened to First Nations people. Thank to each and every one of you for showing the world the strength of our people cannot be broken. Each year I am moved by the incredible amount of support of our communities have received from the allies who wear the color orange. That's what your voice and stories have done. Even in the news recently, the youth have said, we don't know what happened, but we support you. And we thank them for that also. They have created a movement that challenges history taught in schools, created programs for healing, and brought about apology from governments, and even given us a national and provincial day that allows every Manitoban to reflect and learn from your experiences at the Assiniboia Residential School. But there are still spaces where our people's stories are being denied, who face similar stereotypes and misconceptions that dehumanize them, who are not given a space to share and to amplify their elders' voices, to deny the residential school experience to this day. I applaud those that champion the creation of laws that are now being tabled to criminalize residential school denialism, to condone, justify, and downplay the history and lasting impacts of residential school has no place in this way this country moves and how this country moves forward. I urge everyone to be brave as survivors in this room, or other courageous people in your lives to use their voices to continue to speak out. There is healing and justice in your words. With that, from the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, honor you. We remember and we can commit to continuing the journey together with you, your families, and your nations. Agusani, thank you so much.
Thank you, Acting Grand Chief Kennedy. Thank you for sharing your personal experience. I know that it takes a lot to speak from here, and your experience was definitely one that we won't forget. Thank you for sharing. So you're going to ask one. Okay, I'd like to call up our Premier, Mr. Wab Kinew, and he's going to bring greetings on behalf of Manitoba.
Bonjour, Nietzsche, and Schnabbetuk. Just gonna check my email up here. Officer Zikan up Pijan Ama Nibeg Amigo. Wabana quit Nin. Tijun do them. When they get me and don't you? I put you also over there and don't you ba? Bonjour, and then Minan the kit. Mi got den magani tok kina komen in him bizin aik mi got kino jiek mi got ochimi ek so I was just having some fun with some of the people I met on the way in. Took a selfie and then they pulled me in. I thought we were gonna have a hug, but then they just kept going and tried to pull me right in. It's kind of funny. I want to acknowledge the Grand Chief's words. It takes a lot to bare your soul like that, and I found it very moving. Let's show a round of applause for the courage. You know, I was very lucky to spend the time with my old man before he left us, and to hear a bit about his experience at St. Mary's. And I have this pin here from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to be an honorary witness, and I was very, very honored to spend time with many of the survivors who participated in that and to hear their stories. And I just want to commit once again in front of everybody here that we're going to keep the stories alive and we're going to keep the memory going. And that's why tomorrow, for the first time in Manitoba's history, Orange Shirt Day is a statutory holiday. Everyone has a day off to participate. This is one of the first bills that our government passed, and I was very proud, very humbled to put my name on it. And it's because I want every single kid, no matter where their parents work, to be able to participate in Orange Shirt Day. And I want every single family to be able to spend time to learn about the survivors' experience, to learn about the parents left behind, to learn about the kids who didn't come home, and to just be able to carry those stories forward. So I really just want to share a message of hope and a message of gratitude for all the residential school survivors. And could you put up your hand, or just identify yourself if you're a survivor here in the room? Let's show them our appreciation with a hearty round of applause, because I'm going to spend a few minutes up here, but the basic message I want to convey to you is this: you have changed Canada for the better. You've changed Canada for the better. I want to share just a few images of what I've seen this past week as we get up to Orange Shirt Day, which is going to be tomorrow. Friday night, I went to the Bomber Stadium. 30,000 people, probably 10,000 orange shirts, right? Many non-Indigenous people also, but also many young Nietzsches running out onto the field, long hair, proud of who they are. My dad passed away about a dozen years ago, and I was sitting there with my wife Lisa and our youngest Absanakwit and another woman that I work with, and I was just thinking, could my dad ever have imagined this? How it is today, right? Another moment, speaking of my old man, when they took him to St. Mary's, before he went there, his name was Absanakwit. First thing is that they cut his hair. Second thing is that they took his name away from him. We have a little boy now, Lisa and I. He's 6. You know what his name is? Absanakwit. And he has long hair. And the other morning, I spent the time braiding his hair. It's little things like that that are possible in this country today, thanks to the residential school survivors. And there's so many examples in the schools and the community centers and in places right across this great country of how things are moving forward for the better. Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, which led to the National Inquiry as well, and the calls to justice. There's a roadmap here. Survivors could have I don't think anyone would have said anything if survivors had responded from a place of hurt and a place of trauma. But instead, survivors came forward with a vision that said, here are 94 calls to action to bring people together and chart a beautiful path forward for this country where every child matters. And so in spite of all the challenge, in spite of all the negativity, the thing that I've always been inspired by is how survivors rose above that and had a message of unity and hope and positivity. So for that, I want to say miigwech. To the survivors of Assiniboia in particular, many of whom are very, very close. A lot of them are friends of my dad. I'm walking in the room and people are like, hey, I remember your dad. I love to hear that. That's really awesome. But also guys like Phil Gardner, Ted Fontaine, who are not with us. People that are very important to my wife's family, like her Uncle Fern. And then people who are important to us and our kids, like Mabel. Or, because the boys met her when they were still learning how to talk, Maple. And so these are people who mean a lot to us. And then to understand that, part of their journey was right here, just, not even a kilometer away from where we are today, really, really is impactful. And so I wanted to, I guess, just share a bit about our government's journey into office. It's coming up on a year. On October 3rd, it'll be 1 year since the election. But the night before is the story that I want to tell you about, October 2nd. So we'd run our campaign. It's the night before, a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety. Lisa and I, my wife and I, we knew what we had a chance to do the following day, right? We knew, you don't know for sure, but we knew what we had a chance to accomplish the following day. So to burn off some of the nerves, we went on a bike ride. And we live in River Heights, so we went down Kelvin High School and then rode our bikes down Wellington Crescent and then to Assiniboia Park. And it was kind of this weird, gloomy, overcast sky. Because I don't know if you remember election day last year, but it was a crazy thunderstorm in the morning, right? And so the night before, you could already see the thunderclouds starting to gather. So at the end of this bike ride, on the way back, I said, Lisa, let's go over here first. Let's stop in at Assiniboia. And as you know, there's a little shrine on the steps quite often, with teddy bears and candles and stuff like that. So we stopped there, and we said a prayer together. And we just talked about the people that I just mentioned, Phil, Fern, Mabel, Ted, all the other people, and talked about the election that was coming the following day. And I just looked at Lisa and I said, life is hard, but life is beautiful. And so we got back on the bike, so we went home. And the next day, crazy thunderstorm, as you may remember. And then my phone started lighting up because, what it means in Anishinaabe culture. People are saying, the Thunderbirds are here to wash the difficult things away. And then that night, we had a very good outcome. We were able to celebrate and really take in that moment. But I want you to know, when we formed government, as we were walking into the legislature, you, the survivors of Assiniboia, were there with us. And you helped to usher us in. So I wanted to say miigwech. And living in that neighborhood, River Heights, is interesting. Because people knew, People knew there was a residential school there. It's not like sometimes you hear, we had no idea. No, people in River Heights knew. Because I've talked to non-Indigenous people the same age as the survivors in the room, and they said no, we knew. We used to play hockey against those guys. They were really good, right? The Kelvin High School team would play the Assiniboia High School team, right? And as you know from the record books, the Assiniboia team was their provincial champs, right? And they won a few titles a few years running. So they're quite good. And so there is that awareness in the neighborhood. And I get to brag a little bit and tell you that my son was the captain of the Kelvin High School team in his graduating year, grade 12. And his younger brother's football team and varsity basketball this year. And then our youngest, hopefully someday he'll be at Kelvin too. And to me, beyond just bragging, the reason why I wanted to share that is this. That is how residential school survivors changed Canada for the better. 1 generation ago, one group of kids was over here on one side of Academy Road, and another group of kids was over there on the other end of Academy Road. And they were kept apart by the governments of the day. They were kept apart by the attitudes of the day. They were kept apart by the way the world was at the time. But today, 1 generation later, all the kids are together in one school, learning together, playing sports together, making their lives together, the way that it always should have been. Progress is being made in this country. The message that you have on so many of your shirts here today, that every child matters, we're getting closer to that. And don't get me wrong, there's still so much more to do. when it comes to child welfare and poverty and unequal access to healthcare and education. Absolutely, we got to keep putting in the work. But you cannot deny that we are moving forward in a positive direction. And so much of it is due to the people who stood up, much like our acting Grand Chief, and very courageously shared their stories and said we would like better for the future of this country. So once again, miigwech, miigwech, miigwech. I hope you have a wonderful Orange Shirt Day celebration tomorrow. And to all the young people in the room, make your mind strong, make your spirit strong, make your body strong, wear your hair long. And when you do, you make the survivors proud. Miigwech bizindahi.
Thank you, Premier Wab Canoe, for the beautiful message. I just want to say, your Father is here in spirit with you, and he sees everything that you're doing. You could say, a beautiful message for our people, a beautiful message for our survivors, and a beautiful message for our youth. Let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you. Okay, are we getting hungry now? Yeah? Not yet? Oh. All right, we're getting hungry. All right, let's call upon Miss Mabel Horton. She's going to come and do a blessing of the food.
Igosani, Mabel Horton Tigawin, Mitzi Do Gunuskin Sigasun, Nstoyasi Goje, Bisintutu. And oh my goodness, it was really, really lovely to spend the day with all my fellow students from way back. We had to look twice at each other because, and we looked at the eyes and said, oh yeah, you're in there. It was so nice. And some I haven't seen since we left high school. And I went to Guy Hill from 60, 61, and then Assiniboia from 61 to 67. And my brother Fred was one of the first ones, and there's some of people here that know Fred. He's passed, but he went to school with Phil Fontaine and Theodore, and Joe Guy Wood, and quite a few other people. The picture that will be shown, I don't know if it's tonight, but has all the initial students there, and we all want a picture of that. But anyway, it was wonderful to hear the remarks. Thank you, Chief Kennedy and Mr. Premier from Maple. Anyway, I know you're getting hungry, so we usually have a plate of the food, but it's being served today. But so I'm going to use water because that's so significant in our culture, especially with the women in the moon and the teachings that we had. And I think it'll be appropriate for us to do that. It's a very short one that I usually do in my language, but it's just but to bless our body, soul, and spirits. So I don't know if you understand it, but Yuksumano Dainan. Kamaskumit nanos kamama wiak, wap mitoak, wap mitoak, ayotse kayas. Was a kapin time is the morning. You got out to piggy weeks. What bag of mistake I did the nun, I got kapigi wiak, kakido. I got me like a kiskisiak. You got big parts, it's wagi what now. Usmano Dainan. Nanak Muslim Nanak Wichenan, Quascat to Tamago Matuski Nagimide Agotaski, Awasisagoche, Nigarek Mira. Agamina Mitsun, Captain Mitsua, Kawichewag, Yawinak, Tatsakonak. Usama, Waho.
Okay, the food is being served now. I believe we are starting off with soup. Uh, the menu. I think we're having jackfish eyeballs. I think some head cheese as well. And for vegetables, I think we're having, what do you call those little those little cabbages? I think we're having those things, those little green cabbages. What do you call it? Brussels sprouts, yeah. That's our supper today. So I hope you enjoy. So I'm going to share something, just something that was passed along to me. And it's a poem. And it's a poem that I read out a while back at a different event, and it had to do with residential school. I know people are eating. You can carry on talking and do whatever you like. I'm going to just read it out here. It's about residential children, residential schools, and it's called Someone is Coming. And it is done by a friend of mine, Mr. Reginald Mercurdy. An old burnt down residential school in the back of a field. Growing weeds that blow in the wind. You can hear the whispers. Someone is coming for us. Imagine how many shallow graves the children wanted to be found. The children wanted to go home. You hear the whispers. Someone is coming. The children wanted to hide. Imagine the fear the children went through in the residential schools. Imagine all the shallow graves standing in the field, singing a travel song with a hand drum. Each child, one by one, were going home. You can feel the eagle spirits whispering the names of the children. Someone is coming. It is the families of the lost children. In the shallow graves, the whispers were heard. Someone is coming for us. So that is the poem. I always thought that was a beautiful poem, but what I hear it saying is this person that wrote this poem, he's speaking for the children, and he's acknowledging what they're saying. Someone is coming for us. So the message that's being said today about a lot of children that never made it home, a lot of buried, a lot of graves that were uncovered over the past few years. And all the work that's being done in events like this today. That's how I interpret that message. Someone is coming for us. Someone is acknowledging that we are there, and they're bringing us home. So I thought that was a beautiful poem, and I just wanted to share that. So, Egusi, Gananaskamun. We do have a little bit of entertainment coming. I believe we're going to just have our supper first. We're going to have Betty Ross come up in a little bit while we're getting close to our dessert, and she's going to say a few words as well. And from there, we'll have our entertainment, and we'll continue on up the evening. So let's relax a little bit, kick back, and enjoy some music, and enjoy our suppers. Thank you very much. Egusi. Just eating right now. You can speak for a few minutes if you'd like.
A few minutes?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, you can speak. They're good.
All right.
Everybody's just eating anyway.
Oh, hi. Dancing to temat. Dansen tu temak. Kena nasku mit naagi, ma mitsi mit naagi, saagi naagi no. Apöitap miaga no, skagi tsigistraga, mama uiak. Muna nas mit mitsetn sit tavina waak. Maga, anigi gan sit tavina ogik. Wanigi awatsi emagik. Ayagat at tiagi sita guma. Tape pues. Imineniten. Moch kegi sep mutsigi petu tani yats tavian. Utustutaman. Pamagan utsintayan. Pues intayamin. Kinanas kumit na. Ntu temak. Niwagumaganak. Tapoy pues kape itap niya kape yuga uyak. Tapo teyo. Eminenit tamak yapesep matsiagan us kagi tsigisigak. Kagi mas kamak mitset ayaw kagi timayiga uyak. Schoolit. Neunistang gimasken. Ako ane. Ayo. Mots nutsigiyamin mo nutsigigaskitan tayamian. Ispia graduate yan from Assiniboia 1968 anema. Mon nutsigigaskitan inugugiyan. Asumito ni agad inugug mistake at pinatigawian e kuspi. Netemi na ayo. Michikamago mani na utsi. Michikamago Nation. I'm from Prospect Nation. Ayo gutemi na nema. Utan niki utestegi. Ako utan nipia nema. Lake. Ako utan nema residential school. Ego tagagiyan mitset worski ego tamistaymi ego tagagiyan kawatagi gawiyan eyan yawasiyan. Awan utegagi basic sa ugawiyan uta 621 Academy Road Assiniboia Residential School. Awan ene manistamayo ayusan manistame tiyan etimachi school yan. Awan mo sa utsigaskitan gitayan. Tan situ tamani sagegon. Inugugeki kustatsian. Kamitunegi na nigipanian. Mama awiyak mana winutsivitam once. Ayaw mo sa utsi wichiga wiyagay kuspi mana. Kagi school wiyak. Agwanin kiyan mo nutsikaskitanan matagaskitan ayo. Wait na ina nema. Agwanin kito ang gisipwet sa gigiwet sa ugo inetay mitsikamag sa insus of school. Ako na kutigi papa pi gawian. Ayo mama ayo ni mas simple kutigi egiya at si kanigi kutagi gawasak. Ako na nikikimisna na gaita sik. Awak anta in the middle pian anta. Ako na gaita at si kanigi umisimawag. Tapapia kawa egi tu te schoolik wano. Ako na mo siya utsikaskitat. Kita papiak, ako nigi papi sika nigi kagano ayo awasak. At asa ito ni tamane ko te pian, mitane na nigi panyan. Ako mitane utan pichi sa te utane giyan, egi bisa kaukuana nama kapapi sikuke. Ako nigate mame tune ni taman. Martina nga giskinomo ako guys si papi ichik nte tona nte tisunod te gagaskitan ayan tagisitan uma ayo gagaskitan tagisitan ayaw mas nayiga na nga pustas tutnan giton antantan picture giyan Assiniboia man giyan kapesyan ako na teig man naging te school yak Convent of the Sacred Heart at Sigateo. Kagino nagi wapiski wiyasa ka iskwessak. Ninan po kumitata nagi ayaw Assiniboia kagi kapesyak. Awani po kuneo egi kaskita kay puspian magagi pustasot neyak kay puspi. Ewan may yatsi mustata ko. Kinstituta winawan o ati tuge ang magaisin ni Juan. Kinstituta winawan ha. Tapos makwes Oh, good evening, all my relations, my friends, my colleagues, elders, youth. I'm so honored to be here today, to have this voice. I didn't have a voice for many, many years after the residential school, because the black groups used to tell me that you don't matter. You just go on the floor there or go and sit in a corner, you don't matter. You don't say nothing, you don't say one word. I'm a residential school survivor of 4 systems. And the first residential school that I went to was St. Joseph's Residential School in Michigamak Cree Nation, my nation, Treaty number 5, Cross-Lake First Nation. And you know what? My home was right across from a residential school when I was 5 years old. I never looked at that school. I could hear the children laughing and playing around at recess time, but I never looked out there. Instead, a few feet away from my home, I found my own sanctuary, where I found a rock like this, and I used to sit there and talk to the birds and the bees and the bugs, anything that was alive. I used to talk to them in my first language. And what I used to say to them was, like you're just here to survive too, like me. I wanted to be, later on I started bringing some pieces of bannock and some water, because the rabbits used to come too and the squirrels used to come. And pretty soon I was dancing with them, just with everything, nature, the trees, the sun, everything. I don't know why I did that. But all this while I felt as though something was trying to rip me off from my roots. And that's where Sugar Falls comes in. Sugar Falls is 50 miles between Cross Lake and Norway House. And that's where we used to travel by canoe. My Kasama-Dalbrit father, late father, took me to Sugar Falls. Because one morning I found him crying at the foot of my bed, and I asked him in Cree, Papa, why are you crying? And he told me that he dreamt about my future, that I was going to go through 4, how did he call it, where I will suffer trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. I didn't understand, because I was only 5 years old at that time. So we went to Sugar Falls, and him and I stood beside Sugar Falls, and then he told me that I wanted to bring you here. I want to tell you about the whole circle of life. There's awesome teachings in every direction. The east, the south, the west, and the north. There's millions and millions of indigenous teachings, indigenous medicines for us. And then he said, for a while you'll forget about Sugar Falls, you'll forget about these teachings. But after a while you'll find your voice, and then you'll come back to Sugar Falls, where we're standing right now. And then we were standing beside Sugar Falls like this, the water's right there, and then I asked my father in Cree, meaning, why do they call this Sugar Falls? And then he says to me, look at the water, how it falls. So I looked at that water, and sure enough, something came to me. And then my father said, what do you see? And I told him, meaning it looks like, It looks like Sugar Falls. E ugu mo tagaw si Paisitan, tagay Kiskinamatan. Kanatsi niniwisi kana Kiskinama na. Kanatsi niniwisi maskigia. Utatastain pizza. Tagay magantawinitin. I'm here to teach you about the whole circle of life. And I want you to pay attention, close attention. Because where you're going in the future, you have to keep these teachings deep within the recesses of your being, where nobody will ever get them away from you. Because where you're going, and then he went like this, they'll literally try to crucify you for who you are. I didn't understand what he was talking about, but sure enough, I went through that. The beatings and everything else associated with it just felt like I was in prison, because I could see my home across from that residential school. And I used to ask, why am I here? My home is right there. Why can't I go home? And then I got beaten for that. That's when they told me to hush up, that I don't matter. And one time I said one word in Cree. I didn't know there was a nun standing behind me. And then she grabbed my hair and my head and right down to the cement floor. And at that time, those nuns were wearing, those black pointed Oxfords. She started kicking me, my left ear. I just went, I just saw black. To this day, I'm deaf in my left ear. And that's why I'm wearing hearing aids today. So by the way, my sister Viola, I will be 78 years old November 5 too. Isn't that awesome? So anyway, that's what I had to go through for many, many years. It was true. My father told me that I was gonna, go through those 4 atrocious systems where they will literally try to crucify you. Of course, I didn't understand, but I went through those 4 systems. So I forgot the teachings. I forgot Sugar Falls because I got mixed up on a dark road. There's only 2 roads. The dark road that leads to misery and another road that leads, the road of light, where most of us are walking to this day. And I stayed in that dark road for many, many years. I didn't know who I was. I lost Betty. I thought I was having fun. I got mixed up with the wrong crowd for many years. Pretty soon I started having children. My first son, he's with us right now, and I was holding him, and I said, I wonder if I'll be able to raise him right. I wonder if I'll be able to love him for who he is. And so many of those things, because we didn't learn any child rearing in those days. I didn't know how to parent. But amazingly enough, none of my children ended up in children's aid. But I tried my best. Today I have many beautiful generations. And I lost one special girl in 1972, 60 Scoop. She's a 60 Scoop survivor. She lives way, way out in the United Kingdom. I don't know if she wants to stand up now to acknowledge her. She's here. There she is. It took us 30 years to find each other. And when we did, it was like, we're just like this to this day. It was just a beautiful reunion. We're so together. She's so well educated. I am so honored to have met her, and all the work that we did, because she had so many questions. I helped her build her map. Why? so many years to work that together. It was pretty hard, but we did it. So she comes every summer, and we just love her. So yes, residential school systems literally try to crucify us for who we are. Assiniboia, when I came back the next year, I was well prepared. I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna excel. I'm gonna excel in my work, in my schoolwork, and everything else, and I'm gonna graduate. So in 1968, I graduated from Assiniboia Residential School. I was boarding in Assiniboia, but I graduated at the Convent of the Sacred Heart in 1968. There were 10 of us girls that were staying at Assiniboia, but only 4 of us graduated because a lot of the survivors walked and never looked back, and I don't blame them to this day. But they are survivors of Assiniboia. There's so many people that helped us in building that monument, memorial monument. Some of them are sitting right there. I'm just so honored to be working with Ada. So many beautiful people that are just there with us. They walk with us. And knowing me, I just honor each and every one of them. So Sugar Falls, back to Sugar Falls, Sugay Paristic. I'm working with a film director from Alberta. We're going on 3 years now. We do a lot of work. I just came from Calgary last weekend. We do a lot of work with Sugar Falls. And you know what? Sugar Falls will be coming to a theater near you shortly. So, thank you. I think it's time that I left the podium here. Usually the teaching is when I speak to people that I'm supposed to be sitting down. That's one of my father's sacred teachings. But today I felt strong enough to stand by the podium and share the truth. Tapwewin. Muni na church ko ani magagiyanan ng utena na reconciliation kahit sigatik. Tapoin po ko es kitas ta agnigan. Mistay tatos ka teno may wani matapo ino ta treaty wano kami na nete treaty 5 my nation. Awe po sani kage na kiwachi emit na anus kage sigak. Puta kay tapiek iskenita mo ntego che sagi ta ko kage no. Ka utaga pe witap miag. E po sani ginanas kumitnan. And Egusani means thank you very much in my Swampy Cree dialect, and I want to hear that from everybody. Say Egusani. All right. Egusi. Thank you.
I'm here to catch you in case you need to fall. You're good.
Elder Betty Ross, let's give her another round of applause. Thank you for your stories and sharing your accounts of the residential school. Such a difficult time that she experienced over there. Thank you, Betty Ross, for your story. Egusani. All right, let us continue. We are going to move into our entertainment part of the evening. I'm going to call upon Barb Niepenak, and she's going to introduce her dancers and her singers. So let's give Barb Niepenak a big warm welcome.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us to be here today. It is an honor to be dancing for the people that are here. Hey, it's so nice to see so many familiar faces. You know, my late husband, Clarence Niepenak, and I were married for 53 years, and I lost him recently, and it's a challenge. But you know, this is something that he always enjoyed doing. If he was here today, he'd be the one standing here. And we started our dance troupe probably about 28 years ago. And now it's encouraging. We have the third generation now that's dancing for us. Derek is our singer. Derek Tomini is our singer. And I remember dancing with his grandmother and so many other older ladies. I'm going to ask Derek to come and sing the first song. Where's Tyson? Get Tyson. Well, I may be the boss, but they don't always listen to me. But you know, we all have commitments. This young man is attending University of Manitoba, and he has to go play basketball right away. So I'm going to ask him to come forward. This is Tyson Prince from Brokenhead. I think he's from Brokenhead, right? He's going to demonstrate for you the chicken dance. Now, it's always been said that chicken dance originated with the prairie people. And this is Tyson is going to demonstrate for you that chicken dance. Okay? Thank you, Tyson and Derek. You know, we work together as a team, but they know that I'm the boss, so I just have to give them the hand wave and they know what I want. So I'm going to ask Dion to come forth. And I've also danced with Dion's grandmother. That's how old I am. And I haven't been dancing yet, not yet. I will one day. But because of my loss, it's hard to go back to doing something that you love to do. The last time I danced, Clarence and I traveled to Santiago, Chile, and that's the last time I danced. But I'm going to be coming back. It's just a matter of time. So this is Dion Wakey, and he's going to be demonstrating for you the women's traditional style of dance. There's water here too.
Hey,
You know, of all the dancers, the hardest person, the one that's really working the hardest is the drummer. And I always appreciate the drummers. And we just did a performance the other day where I used a full drum group. But because it's such a small stage, we couldn't do that. So the next I'm going to ask to step forward is Kristen, my third daughter. And she dances the women's traditional style of dance. And so she's traditionally, a long time ago, our women would be dancing in the peripheral area to watch over the children. There's two styles of dance for this, but she's going to do it straight. This is Kristen. Do you recognize that outfit? Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much for that. You know, I had 4 daughters and they all danced at one time. And she's one of she's still dancing to this day. And I'm really proud of her because she's always there for me when I need her. And like the rest of those dancers, they're there for us when we need them. And I really appreciate that. The next dancer I'm going to ask to step up is Lily. And Lily she joined us a couple of years ago. And just so you know, sometimes we do something different, altogether different. This last winter we did a TikTok video, and Lily was one of the dancers. So this is Lily with the fancy shawl dance. Thank you very much for that. You know, when you see these dancers, it's a skill to be a dancer because you have to listen, you have to hear, and you have to feel that drum. And I'm so proud of all these dancers. You know, they do that willingly, and they all know their songs they're supposed to be dancing to. And I'm going to ask Dion to come up one more time while those boys are out there getting ready. Now, Dion, what are you going to do? Crow hop? Okay, he'll do a crow hop. Okay. Okay, got it. Good one. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. You know, this is a significant time for us to gather together as relatives, as Anishinaabe, and everybody that's here today. You know, it is a great honor to be here today to celebrate life, Bematisiwit, as we call it. And I'm so glad to see so many young people here as well. When I say young, it's anybody under 50. So I'm going to ask these two brothers, Drayton and Jordan Hart, and they're brothers, and they're raised by their grandparents, Blaine and Marilyn. And it's so encouraging to see our young people standing up and taking over, because these are our future leaders that we should never forget. And to acknowledge these young men, women that are here today for us. So they're going to demonstrate for you a hoop dance, and I'm so proud of them. I've used them for several shows already, and so these are these two brothers, Braden and Jordan. Stay there, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, it's at this time I'd like to do a special honor song for each and every one of you, because that's how we show our respect to people. And also like to dedicate this to our late Grand Chief, and also the survivors that have passed on. So Derek is going to sing an honor song. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us to be here today. Kailangan ako man nim.
Wasn't that amazing? That was beautiful. I'd like to acknowledge them one more time. Barb Niepenak, singer Derek Hatonomy, Lily Hatonomy, Tyson Prince, hoop dancers, Drayden and Jordan Hart, and Kristen Niepenak and Dion Waukee. So let's give them one more big round of applause for their display, their beautiful talent and hard work. That was so amazing. I loved it. All right, we're nearing the end of our event today. I'd like to call upon Uda, and she's going to say a few words, and then we will wrap up our evening. Welcome, Ada.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just here to do our thank yous before we wrap up with a final blessing from our MC. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ada. I'm the Executive Director of Assiniboia Residential School Legacy Group. I've been here for a year, as of September 5th of this year. I am from Cody First Nation in Saskatchewan, and my background is in the area of child welfare, but I've been blessed to be a part of Assiniboia Residential School Legacy Group for just over a year, and this is our first really big event. So I hope you all had a great time. We had a lot of support from different areas of government, some of whom are actually here with us right now. So some of our funders include the Government of Manitoba, who paid for this reunion. We also had support from the Government of Canada, from Parks Canada as well. And then we also have Parks Canada here. I'm gonna ask him to stand up in a moment because he's gonna be at our event tomorrow as well. And we wanna make sure that everybody gets to know who he is, because we want you to come and speak to him about our potential National Historic Designation plaque that we are starting to look at the drafting of it. So we want people's input and feedback. So this is Trevor Stace here, right here. He's going to be with us tomorrow as well. He's here from Parks Canada, and he is going to show us what a plaque might look like with some beginning draft of some words that we would need to be on there. So you're going to have a chance to see what it might look like. We've asked them to give us an example so that we can get some feedback from our survivors and intergenerational survivors. So you will see that opportunity tomorrow. So, thank you, Trevor. So again, we had a lot of support from different government bodies, like I said, including the province and the feds in a couple of different ways, with Parks Canada providing us with a lovely grant for our commemoration activities, and then with the federal government providing us with some support through Heritage Canada. So thank you to the different levels of government that assisted us with this, and we're so pleased that we were able to bring some dignitaries in from AMC and the province to be able to say hello to you. So thank you all for being here. We're going to have Ted do a final blessing, and then I'm going to let you guys go for tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow at the site at 10 a.m. We'll get started around 10:30. All right, everyone? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ada, for your closing comments and your acknowledgements. Unfortunately, I will not be doing a final blessing. I asked an elder because there's so many elders here that deserve that honor, and I've asked our elder, Mabel Horton, to do a closing. But first, I just want to acknowledge Ada and the staff here that put this event together, the planning, having our premier here, our acting grand chief, our speakers tonight. It was very well done. Our entertainment, our dancers. So what a great evening. Thank you very much. Let's give them one big round of applause for all the work they've done. It's a beautiful night, and it's been my honor and my pleasure to MC this event, and I look forward to the next one. Mabel is going to come up and do a closing prayer, so if you stand if you are able, and we will end off our evening. Egasi gananaskman masicho miigwech.
Ma'am. Tapos lagi nilogisira nos lagisira was miritinista utigean kapspego oga kada go apmita nasko niago oga peswapagi kama mawinana minaga kiugatwa. Thank you. It's been a privilege to be here today to see all of you, meet new friends and see old ones. So you have to look at me eye and go, is that you in there? And it was just a pleasure. And I know we're all getting tired, or some want to go other places to do a little thing while you're in the city. But for me, I'll be going to bed soon. I've been up since 3:30 because my daughter had insomnia and I couldn't sleep either. But anyway, the last one. We'll also have prayers tomorrow, but this is for the day. And so just to wish you a good night and blessings. Ibas mano tenan kinasumit nga na kay mama wiha kanots midawap mitoak iminig kiwatoak ipahapiak abay sagi hitoak midawiti na nagagalaw tehayak awasak mina aba wistaw katawa pata ko at sagi pispalik utas ki kinanot sa awasasak kapita kimag ahiw kitanya nanaw awasasak igagaw si pihiwitsik Kami nagatigo hawa kakipi which is school na ko idin yok mitsi dasa kiwani hana ipinto mitsi we started to tag out to school nota. We want to thank everyone that was here today and will be with us tomorrow. It was wonderful to see everyone, look them in the eye and make sure that they were there. And as we age, it's wonderful to have happy memories and laugh a lot about all this stuff, because as you know, humor is quite a healing. And it was wonderful to have the dignitaries here and share and go around the room, posing, smiling. I was just telling the premier, I said his face must be sore by the time he's done every day. Anyway, with that, good night, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Here goes him.
Okay. We'll see you on tomorrow? No, there's more stuff to do.
Okay, everybody, drive safe and have a nice evening. Here goes here.